The guy who was behind the hit on Young Dolph has been found lifeless. The last footage of him reveals more than just something that we've expected for a long time. It also tells us that the Young Dolph case is finally unraveling. And there's some justice taking place too. On November 17, 2021, Young Dolph was shot and killed in Memphis while visiting his favorite bakery, Makita's Homemade Butter Cookies. Two guys in a white Mercedes-Benz shot him multiple times. There were crowds at the scene and people called for a curfew to prevent violence. Young Dolph's funeral took place on November 30th, 2021, with a service at First Baptist Church Broad Street. He was laid to rest near his high school, Hamilton High. One suspect, 23-year-old Justin Johnson, was identified by the police on January 5th, 2022, and a reward was offered for information about him. Another suspect, 32-year-old Cornelius Smith, who was arrested for stealing a car used in the murder, was indicted on January 11th. Johnson was later captured in Indiana, and both Johnson and Smith were indicted on first-degree murder charges. Another suspect, 43-year-old Hernandez Govan, was indicted on November 10, 2022, for allegedly ordering the murder. Due to the seriousness of the charges and the defendant's legal procedures, the trial for Young Dolph's murder is expected to take place in 2024. So there's this guy from Tennessee who has confessed to helping two dudes shoot Young Dolph in broad daylight at a bakery in Memphis. The man, Jamarcus Johnson, who's 26 years old, pleaded guilty to 3 counts of being involved after the fact of murder of Adolph Thornton Jr., aka Young Dolph. Dolph was only 36 years old when he was tragically gunned down at Makita's Homemade Cookies on Airways Boulevard, close to where he grew up in South Memphis. Dolph was buying some cookies when he got shot by these two guys who arrived in a stolen white Mercedes-Benz. In connection to the shooting, 4 people have been charged so far. This includes Johnson's half-brother, Justin Johnson, and his partner in crime, Cornelius Smith, who are believed to be the ones who pulled the trigger. Out of all the defendants, Jamarcus Johnson is the only one who has admitted his guilt. So when prosecutor Paul Hagerman was questioning him the other day, Jamarcus Johnson admitted that he got a car from his half-brother. It's important to note that the car wasn't the 2-door Mercedes that was used in the killing, and Johnson didn't have any role in the shooting itself. However, according to the prosecutor, Jamarcus was connected to the whole thing in a broader sense, along with other people. Johnson confessed that he helped the 2 guys who pulled the trigger by letting them communicate through cell phones while they were on the run from the authorities. He also helped them get in touch with his probation officer. On top of that, Johnson pointed out a photo where his half-brother was wearing the same clothes as one of the suspected gunmen.
His brother Justin would call the telephone and he'd place the telephone up to another telephone, and they would in essence trick Justin Johnson's federal probation officer into believing that Justin Johnson still had his cell phone and was still in Memphis, Tennessee.
After the hearing, the prosecutor mentioned that dealing with a case involving multiple defendants is like playing chess. He said you have to strategically position your pieces. Judge Lee Coffey has given the green light to a plea deal between Johnson and the prosecutors, which means he won't have to go through a trial, although he might still testify if needed. So originally, Johnson was charged with a more serious crime of planning to commit first-degree murder, as stated in the indictment. His lawyer, Josh Corman, informed the reporters that his client didn't want any smoke. He got pulled into the aftermath of the murder. This is what the lawyer told the press. You know, sometimes you learn the hard way that you need to be cautious about the people you associate with. In this situation, it was actually his half-brother who unexpectedly showed up to his apartment one day with a phone and a car. On the other hand, the accused gunmen, Johnson and Smith, have both pleaded not guilty to the charges, which include first-degree murder. Hernandez Govan, who's accused of organizing the killing, has also pleaded not guilty to the charge of first-degree murder. The saddest part about the entire Young Dolph case is that they haven't revealed why the killing happened. Nobody knows exactly why Dolph, the Memphis legend, lost his life. It truly was an act of senseless violence. As for Justin Johnson and Smith, they're currently locked up in jail, while Govan was on house arrest with a $90,000 bond. They're worried about his safety and health, so they decided to keep him at home. But this is hardly the only news we got going on with the Dolph case. See, there's been blood spilled in the last few days, and guess whose blood it is? CEO Teasy, the guy who is considered a person of interest in the Young Dolph case.
Victim is Josh Taylor, also known as CEO TZ. Now, we're also getting that this was a hit by PRE Dolph's gang. Now, this has not been confirmed by MPD, but we do know that Taylor was a person of interest in Dolph's murder.
So there's this guy who was considered a person of interest in the murder of rapper Young Dolph, and now he's been found dead with gunshot wounds. His name is Joshua Taylor, but he's better known by his nickname, CEO TZ. The Memphis police discovered Taylor's body inside a car at the intersection of Spotswood Avenue and Button Street in Memphis on Wednesday, the 14th of June. Later, TZ's family officially confirmed that it was his body. A spokesperson from the Memphis Police Department mentioned that they haven't identified any suspects yet, and the investigation is still ongoing. Joshua Taylor was actually named by the police as a person of interest in the murder back in 2021, but he was never charged in the connection with the killing. As you can imagine already, comments online have been going crazy. Conspiracy theories are flooding the pages, and videos are coming out on a regular basis about what the death of CEO TZ meant in the grand scheme of things. However, one thing is for certain, people see this as some sort of justice for Dolph. The general feeling that most Memphis folks have is that there hasn't been enough justice done yet to put those who took Dolph away behind bars. The fact that CEO TZ got murked is therefore karma doing its thing. See, even though the official story tells that Govan was the one who set up the hit on Dolph, most believe TZ was the one involved in setting up Dolph too. It's just that Govan took the fall for it, even though the fall wasn't that bad for Govan at all. To all you youngsters, let this be a lesson about these streets. The streets don't forgive or forget. Once you're a part of taking a life, be prepared to look over your shoulder for the rest of your life. What goes around comes around. The streets always get its due. Rest easy, Young Dolph. The news reports also claim that the ones behind the hit on CEO TZ were in fact PRE members of Dolph's paper route empire. So far, those are just allegations being tossed around in the air. There's still a chance that TZ was gunned down for reasons totally unrelated to Young Dolph's hit. However, there are very few real coincidences in this world, and most believe that this was indeed retaliation that just happened to come a little bit late. But the streets will never forget, and TZ's debt was long overdue. Some say that Dolph's death basically started a turf war, and that the Trula Mafia ain't been the same. CEO TZ's death would only go on to confirm that argument, and that it would serve as evidence TZ was repping Trula. And the fact that he got smoked like that, it means that there's something going on here that we don't quite understand just yet. One thing is for sure though, the layers and the depth of the hit on Young Dolph are only starting to get revealed. We're seeing live all the consequences of the actions that took away one of the greatest artists to come from Memphis. Someone who was way more than just an artist. But what are y'all's thoughts on the recent developments in this case? We've seen Jamarcus admit to helping out the shooters, and we've seen CEO TZ lose his life. What does this mean for the future of Memphis? And is it going to calm down the turf war, or is it only going to make it escalate further? Let us know what you think down about it in the comment section below. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a comment, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. We got more hip-hop videos coming your way daily. And as always, remember to keep it RIZZLE.